Here. Here. Okay, that's a quorum, and in fact, the other members who are not here at the present will come in just a moment. So let's have Principal Sukik come up and introduce the Harper Boy Scouts and maybe an Eagle Scouts for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Good evening. We're really thrilled to be here tonight on such a special day to celebrate Veterans Day. And we have, as you can see, all sizes of scouts. So we have some small scouts and some Eagle Scouts. So we have the full range. And we're really happy to be able to celebrate Veterans Day today with everyone and indicate how proud we are of our veterans. Some of the things that we celebrated in our District 39 schools today, we had displays that were set up, letters were sent, packages were sent, books were read, research was done, and there were even some virtual visitations to veterans. So we love celebrating our vets and are really proud of our men and women who have served our country. And tonight, before we begin the pledge, we have an Eagle Scout, Connor Pichetti, who completed his Eagle Scout project at Harper and is going to share what he did. We also have two other Eagle Scouts. Zach Jobs completed his at Harper as well, and Connor will be the one tonight who will be talking about his project.
Hello, my name's Connor Pichetti. I'm with Troop 3 from Wilmette. And for my Eagle project, I decided to, or with me and Dr. Hick decided to refurbish and redo the bike racks at Harper. Because I think it's kind of cool because it's full circle for me because I went to Harper and I rode my bike there almost every day while I could. And it was just nice to be able to do something for the school that I went to and show how far I've gone for them. And I think we did a nice job on them. And I thank you, Dr. Kick, for your support in the project. So just before we redid them, they were in really pretty bad shape. There was the paint was fairly faded, and there's a lot of rust showing. So we scraped them down, sanded them down, and then repainted them with metal paint and put in a new bike rack, or a new air pump. So that's permanent with a cement base that can stand outside for as long as it lasts in all weather, and it hopefully will be available for everybody.
And very briefly, I'll have Zach and then Greg DeMacos share the Eagle Scout projects that they did.
Hi, I'm Zach Jobs. I also completed my Eagle Scout project at Harper and was also a student there. What I did is I replaced the garden beds, which were pretty old and they were rotting and there was nails and rebar sticking out of them. So Dr. Kick and I and the Harper PTO Garden Club decided that we should take out those and put in some new ones. So I think the project went pretty well and is a great opportunity and experience for me, the troop, and the school.
I'm Greg DeMacos. For my Eagle project, I worked with Ms. Susan Gatto of the Friends of Thornwood Park Nature Preserve to extend our trail, our previously constructed trail by Troop 9, another 100 feet. This really served to just, transform what was once like a dumping ground into a usable space for the community to enjoy. It's right by Harper as well. And this is just great for the troop and the community to enjoy, and I'm glad I could do it.
Wonderful, and I'll have the boys introduce themselves. Some of them might share something that they've learned about veterans or thank our veterans.
My name is Carter Dill, and my great-grandfather served in the Marines.
Hi, my name is Will Beer.
And I am thankful for veterans for protecting our country.
I am Chase Crawford, and I am thankful for the United States Armed Forces for protecting our country from threats.
Hello, my name is Cameron Crawford, and my grandfather was in the Navy.
Hi, my name is Adam. Hi, my name is Griffin Deegan.
Hi, my name is Sean Bart.
Hi, my name is Sam.
Hi, my name is Owen Candido.
Hi, my name is Charlie.
Hi, my name is William. I'm from Troop 9.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you all very much, and congratulations to the Eagle Scouts. And thank you all for being here with us to help us with the Pledge of Allegiance.
And next, I'd like to introduce Mrs. Rachel Filippi. She has some special students from McKinsey Elementary to share some wonderful things they did today for Veterans Day.
Good evening. Come on. We are very excited to share about McKenzie's efforts to support our troops and veterans through Operation Gratitude's Halloween Candy Give Back Drive. Allie Denton, a McKenzie paraprofessional who is sorry she could not attend tonight, led McKenzie as we teamed up with Operation Gratitude to prepare to honor our veterans today. We have 3 McKenzie students who are here tonight to tell you more.
Hi, my name is Amelia, and I'm in 3rd grade. McKenzie students collected 317 pounds of donated Halloween candy to send our military heroes.
My name is Alex, and I am in 3rd grade. Our goal was to write 100 letters to send with the candy, and we exceeded our goal by writing 121 letters.
My name is Jack, and I am in 1st grade. We want to send candy and letters to be our troops and veterans because they saved our lives, and after they don't get something good to after their dinner, so we gave them candy for so they can have it, because they worked so hard for us.
And in closing, on behalf of McKenzie's staff and students, I would like to thank the district for supporting our efforts to send candy and letters to our troops and veterans. Thank you.
Thank you all very much, and thank you all. Yeah, I think that's a round of applause. So that is an excellent Veterans Day way to start the meeting. In addition, on display in the boardroom are photographs taken by students and digitally edited in class using professional software. Each image communicates to the viewer about the life and adventures of our students. Photography at WJHS combines a cutting-edge experience with a foundation on past history. Also on display in the foyer are handmade vases and carved dishes created by 8th graders. Students studied ancient Greek vases and developed templates using those examples. Students layered coils to create a functional structure, then learned to mix and apply glazes to convey their own life story. So if you get a chance, I hope you'll check out the artwork we have on display. Next, I seek a motion to approve the minutes of the October 22nd, 2018 regular Board of Education and executive session meetings.
I move to approve the minutes of the October 22nd, 2018 Board of Education and executive session meetings.
May I have a second?
Second.
Okay, the motion has been made and seconded. Board members, are there any comments, errors, or omissions to the minutes? Seeing none.
I just had one question, and Tracy, maybe you can clarify this. On the last page, when we pulled the vote about the levy hearing, and then you said, oh yeah, this is just to set up the hearing. Did you vote yes, or did you vote no? Because it said in there.
Yes. Bottom line is, I don't even.
Okay.
I respect the
Yeah.
But I'm voting no.
Okay, I just wondered what the vote is, because I thought you said, oh, yeah, this is just to set up the hearing, and then you are listed as voting nay, so that's why I brought it up. So, okay. I just wanted to clarify.
I know.
Thanks. Okay.
Okay.
I needed the clarification myself.
Thank you. Are there any other questions or errors or omissions? Okay, all those in favor of approving minutes as submitted, please indicate by saying yay.
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 The motion and any nays? Okay, the motion carries by general consent. All right, at this time I would like to remind everyone that this is a public meeting and we are all among neighbors and fellow residents. Appropriate conduct is expected from everyone. We ask that people speak only when called upon, that everyone treat each other kindly and with proper respect and refrain from distracting behaviors such as loud conversations, cheering, clapping, or booing. And that brings us to our public comments. This is an opportunity for the audience to address the board. Are there any audience members that would like to speak at this time? Okay, please come forward and state your name and the community of residents. You'll be allowed 3 minutes to speak.
Okay, yes?
Yep, go ahead.
Good evening, my name is Kate Jaya, and I am a parent of 3 alumni of D39 and also co-president of the League of Women Voters of Wilmette, and tonight I'm speaking on behalf of the League. The League of Women Voters is here tonight to speak in opposition to the Illinois Association of School Boards resolution to support and advocate for legislation that will allow local school districts to arm teachers and school staff. The League hopes that D39 will send a representative to the IASB conference this week to oppose this resolution. We all want children to be safe and our schools to be a safe and peaceful place, but arming teachers ignores research that the presence of a gun increases the risks posed to children. It places an undue burden on teachers. It is extremely unlikely to assist law enforcement in the case of an emergency. Quite simply, guns do not belong with civilians in our schools. That is why America's teachers, school safety experts, and law enforcement oppose arming teachers. The American Federation of Teachers, the National Education Association, the Major Cities Chiefs Association, the American Medical Association, the American Academy of Pediatrics have all expressed opposition to arming teachers. In March, the Illinois Federation of Teachers passed a resolution to oppose arming teachers. The National Association of School Resource Officers opposes arming teachers because of the risk it would pose to students, the school community, and law enforcement. The League recognizes that Wilmette is a home rule community and can make its own decisions, and that fortunately there is not a lot of support for arming teachers in our school district. For that, we are grateful. And we recognize that there is a sentiment of who are we to tell downstate communities what is best for their schools. We should just stay out of it. But the League of Women Voters would turn that around to say, in this age of rampant mass shootings where our children do active shooting drills and parents worry every day about the safety of their children, who are we to not speak up? It is a moral imperative to say no to the proliferation of guns in our country. The data is clear that bringing guns into our schools will not make them a safer place for teachers or students, and we must stand up and say no to this resolution. Instead of bringing guns into our schools, we need to prevent guns from entering our schools. We can save lives by raising awareness and supporting the implementation of new gun safety laws, including red flag laws, background checks, assault weapon bans, and gun dealer licensing. We can support school resource officers for all schools in Illinois. We are all scared of gun violence we see in our country. But school safety expert, teachers, many in law enforcement, and our medical professionals overwhelmingly agree that arming teachers and bringing more guns into our schools is not the answer for our school or for any school. Please vote to send a representative to oppose any effort that would arm staff or teachers, including the Illinois Association of School Boards resolution on student safety and protection. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much. Is there anyone else who would like to speak to the board at this time? Great, come on forward. Please state your name and your community of residence, and you will also have 3 minutes to speak. I'll try and give you a little signal at 2. You need to turn on the mic.
My name is Rona D. Camillo. I am a resident of Wilmette. I am also here to request that District 39 Board send a representative to the Illinois Association of School Boards Resolution Committee to argue against the Student Safety Protection Resolution. My understanding is that if this resolution passes, the school boards will have the option of developing plans that include the arming of administrators, faculty, or teachers. There are many steps to make it more unlikely that our schools would face an active shooter situation that can be taken before the arming of teachers, which is opposed by the American Federation of Teachers and the National Education Association. Illinois law would need to be changed prior to the implementation of such a plan, as Illinois currently prohibits the knowing possession or carrying of any firearm on school grounds or within 1,000 feet of a school, with the exception being for law enforcement or school security officers. If laws are to be changed, there are plenty of other solutions to consider prior to the drastic step of letting school boards decide to arm teachers. The epidemic in our country of gun violence needs solutions, but those solutions are universal background checks, extreme risk protection orders, bans on interstate gun trafficking, and bans on high-power assault rifles. It doesn't include arming teachers. Guns have no place in our schools. We should be doing everything we can to reduce the possibility of any gunfire in our schools by focusing on measures that will create the safe and supportive learning environments our children deserve. We should not be passing resolutions that will simply increase the sales of guns in our state and put our children at risk by increasing the chance that a child will gain access to a firearm or be hurt if a situation escalates due to the presence of firearms. Thank you for your consideration of sending a D39 board member to argue against this proposal. Thank you.
Thank you. Others? Okay, once again, your name and your community of residence, and you'll have 3 minutes.
Hi, I'm Lolly Watt, and I've lived here in Wilmette since 1994. I'm the parent of 3 children who went through District 39, and my oldest was a first grader at Ramona when Columbine happened. I remember clearly that afternoon. He usually walked home from school by himself, but I went to meet him. And we had a long and deep conversation about how he would be safe in schools because there would never be guns there, because his teachers would make sure of that, and that he had nothing to fear. And that December, I was at a gathering of, little kids who were friends and their parents at somebody's home. And for the first time in my life, somebody said to me, you know what? Columbine wouldn't have happened if the teachers had had guns. And I was so horrified by that concept that I still remember now, almost 20 years later, just exactly where I was standing and what was on the wall behind this gentleman when he said that to me. And it terrified me. It had never occurred to me that anyone could think that. And thereafter, I started asking everybody if they had guns in the home before I let my kids go to their houses. And I never did let them go there. I'm also a taxpayer on a property in deep rural Wisconsin in a community of less than 500 people. My friends and neighbors there, many of them have firearms. People hunt on our property. I have no problem with that. But even there, I would not want teachers in the little country school to have guns. And I urge you not to put parents in a situation where they have to think about whether they think it's safe for their kids to go to school, because there are legal so-called guns in school. Please let's not go there. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Is there anyone else who would like to come forward and speak at this time? Come on forward. And once again, your name, your community of residence, and you'll have 3 minutes. Use the mic, please. You need to turn it on.
Sorry. My name is Allison Gasser, and I've been a resident of Wilmette for 17 years. My son attended all District 39 schools from preschool through 8th grade and is now a freshman at New Trier High School. I think the proposal to arm school teachers is a terrible and frightening idea that will result in a less safe environment for our children, teachers, and administrators. To put the concept in simple mathematical terms, more guns plus more bullets will equal greater casualties, and that's unacceptable. Most of us, I sincerely hope, will never know the sheer terror that occurs when an unexpected shooter enters a building to inflict harm. In this high stressful situation, even the most well-trained military expert can make mistakes. Our teachers, however, are not military experts, and any mistakes can cost lives. That's some common sense logic, but here's some facts to go with that. An FBI study found that in 250 active shooter incidents, there were only 7 successful armed civilian interventions. That is a rate of less than 3% success rate. I don't want to take that chance with my child. As another example, Congresswoman Gabrielle Giffords was shot and injured in Tucson, Arizona. An armed civilian came very close to firing at the unarmed civilian who was the one who disarmed the shooter. Additionally, armed civilians have put law enforcement in danger and delayed their responses and posed risks to innocent bystanders. When a man shot and killed 3 people in Walmart in Thornton, Colorado, law enforcement noted that shoppers drawing weapons in self-defense absolutely slowed the process of identifying a suspect. The best way to protect children in schools from shootings is to pass comprehensive gun safety laws that can prevent people with dangerous histories from ever getting a gun, such as background checks on gun sales, red flag laws, keeping guns out of hands of domestic abusers, and raising the minimum age to 21 for semi-automatic rifles and shotguns. In the state of Connecticut, the location of that horrible Sandy Hook Elementary School shooting, they've done these things and they've seen great improvements in public safety. Teachers have enough on their plate being educational experts and assisting in their children's overall development. Placing the burden of public safety on them, a separate job for the police or security officer, is unfair, unwise, and unsafe. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to come forward at this time? Okay, seeing none, we'll move along. Next up, we have the board reports and our committee reports, and Mr. Panzica has the school finance report first.
As part of the Committee of the Whole meeting November 5th, we held a very busy school finance committee meeting. We started with the discussion of draft student fees, which will be presented later in this meeting. Most fees will remain the same, although 2 fees will be slightly increased, and it was proposed to no longer charge credit card fees for certain transactions. This will be discussed again in December and voted on in the December school board meeting. We discussed the need to move the audit update from our regular time of November to December. This is due to some changes in regulations, but has no material impact and still meets mandated timelines. We then discussed 2 items which will come up later tonight as resolutions. The first, we had a presentation from Scott Ginsberg from the law firm of Robbins Schwartz, who presented information on PTAB, Property Tax Appeal Board. His primary point was there has been a shift over time of large property tax appeals from mostly the PTAB to also include appeals to the Cook County Circuit Court. A resolution was drafted to include appeals to the Circuit Court in a similar manner to those appealed to the PTAB. This resolution will be discussed and voted on later tonight. Finally, last month we began discussing modifications to our reserve guidelines. This month we discussed a specific proposal. It was identified that the historical cash flow needs exceed our current guideline of 30%, and thus a proposal to raise this part of the guideline to 35%. In addition, uncertainty in Springfield and other external risks have increased and suggest a slightly higher buffer. Thus, there is a resolution to raise the minimum guideline to 40%. This is still at or below surrounding communities. As mentioned last meeting, we also discussed a new concept of establishing a maximum reserve guideline. We identified a guideline of 65%. Upon reaching this guideline, we would have a public meeting to discuss steps to bring this balance back to the recommended range. Options such as accelerating required capital expenditures or refunding the excess amount to the community via taxpayer rebates or reduced fees were identified. We will be discussing and voting on a resolution to establish a 40 to 65% guideline range later in this meeting.
Thank you very much. And next we have the Facility Development Report from Ms. Schaff.
The Facilities Committee met also as a part of the Committee of the Whole last Monday here at the MEC. We discussed briefly the High Crest Learning Commons and the kindergarten enrichment construction projects. Design and cost refinements are continuing, and we should have more information next month. The next Committee of the Whole is Monday, December 10th.
Thank you very much. Next are liaison committees, and Mr. Cesaretti, you have the Community Review Committee.
Yeah, thanks, Mark. I attended the CRC meeting, which was held Monday, November 5th in the evening. And so the CRC is currently looking at personalized learning, current practices, and best practices. That night, they had a great guest from Leap Innovations, who ran the whole group through a really nice presentation and an exercise, and I have a lot of confidence in what they're doing. I mean, I think they're, if you guys haven't been, right, we all take rotation, I think you're going to be impressed. Thanks.
Thank you very much. Next up, we have the WICSI from Ms. Sternweiler.
Our WICSI meeting took place today. We've begun planning for summer enrichment and the ESY programming, and those are scheduled to take place at Ramona and WJHS this year between June 19th and July 23rd. We approved and accepted the 2018 fiscal year financial report and activity through October 2018. And we had a healthy conversation about the new state procedural changes to IDEA flow-throughs. Moving forward, funds will flow directly to member districts of a co-op. For WICSI, this has very little impact because we're actually like 99% flow-through already. And the next WICSI meeting is scheduled for March 18th of next year.
Great, thank you very much. And now Ms. Schneider-Fabes has a superintendent search update.
Well, we've had 39 applicants apply for the superintendent job here. On Wednesday night, School Exec Connect will come in closed session and share information about the applicants and recommend 7 for the first round of interviews. The first round of interviews will take place the week of November 26th. And after that round, the board will invite 2 or 3 of those interviewed to come back for the week of December 10th. That week, there will also be the stakeholder committee interviews, and we have formed the stakeholder committee. So the parent reps are Julie Adrianopoli and Laura Litchfield. Community reps are Keith Dronin and Pamela Martin. SSU is Kathy Peach and Lisa Winter. WEA is Linda Dykeman and Maura Winston. From the administrators, Heather Glowacki will also serve as chair and be on the committee. Becky Lippman and Kelly Jackson. Any questions?
Okay, thank you very much. And now, Ms. Kearney, you have our legislative update.
I do, and I should have a lot more updates these days now that the election is over. And the legislature is back in session. Anyway, the Illinois Senate and House of Representatives will begin reviewing gubernatorial action on bills next week, specifically tomorrow through Thursday. The veto session is set for tomorrow through Thursday, the 13th through the 15th, and November 27th and 29th, and expected is a strong push to override the governor's veto of 2 important bills. You've heard me talk about these before. I'll just remind you what they are again. Senate Bill 2892, which would provide a mandatory increase in teacher salaries across the state by setting a statewide minimum teacher salary of $40,000. There's also Senate Bill 2572, who would mandate 150 minutes of physical education per week for all students, kindergarten through 12th grade. administrators and school board, let me skip that part. Just to give you a little background on these bills, if you remember, the 40,000 bill was introduced in the last legislature and struck down in that there was arguments that any of the new funding that districts would be receiving as a result of the evidence-based funding model would be absorbed by the increase in the floor of a minimum of $40,000 for teachers, and that obviously economies are different throughout Illinois. Secondly, the legislation, the education bill had also given districts flexibility with PE and how they appropriate that time. In other words, it wouldn't have to be 5 days a week, et cetera. These bills they're hoping to veto where it was decided that the 40,000 minimum, that bill failed. They want to override that veto. The governor had vetoed that. And secondly, they want to re-implement the physical education mandates, and in other words, not allowing for the flexibility in districts. And that's it for now.
Great, thank you very much. And now we are to information items. Ray.
Yes. The board received written communication from co-presidents of the League of Women Voters, Kate Gaia and Nancy Hoying, as well as Luella Levy, regarding the Illinois Association of School Boards resolution regarding student safety and protection. Regarding administrative announcements?
Go ahead.
Okay. School Board Members Day. November 15th is School Board Members Day in Illinois. This is our opportunity to thank our Board of Education members for your commitment in providing local governance for our public schools. Leadership for our community, our schools, and for our future begins with the timeless and tireless work of locally elected school board members. District 39, our community and our schools join me and others throughout the Illinois in recognizing your efforts. Thank you. Parent-teacher conferences. District 39's parent-teacher conferences were held last week, and once again, they were well attended. Conferences provide an opportunity for families and teachers to discuss student progress and provide student guidance on how to reflect and set goals. Parents who are unable to attend these face-to-face conferences can be updated by phone or email. Next, the school report card. Following the requirements of ISBE, the district's local achievement data was presented during the October 22nd board meeting. On October 31st, ISBE released all the report cards for all the schools of Illinois. And then tonight's announcement meets the annual requirement for each school district to post school report cards on our website. And finally, anyone needing a hard copy of a school report card can contact the Office of Curriculum and Instruction for a printed version. Finally, the 5 essential surveys is yet another annual requirement of the State Board of Education. In December and January, parents, teachers, and 4th through 8th grade students will have an opportunity to participate. The surveys gather data relative to 5 indicators for schools, effective leaders, collaborative teachers, involved families, supportive environments, and ambitious instruction.
Great, and that brings, any questions on that? Okay, that brings us to our annual business.
First item is a brand new township 8th grade survey was administered last spring to 8th grade students across the entire township, where 915 students participated. This survey focuses primarily on connections made in school and preparedness for 21st century skills. Kelly Jackson has this report.
Good evening. In April 2018, 8th graders from across the township took a new version of the high school preparedness survey called the New Trier Township 8th grade survey. While the previous survey was largely focused on specific academic coursework and was given to students in the second half of their freshman year, this survey focused more on attributes indicative of acquiring 21st century skills and was given to 8th graders in the spring of their 8th grade year. Additionally, there is a larger social-emotional component to this survey than there has been in the past. Tonight we will take a look at the trends that we're seeing across the township, and then we will focus in on a couple of areas of focus for District 39. The 3 areas that we looked at And this was agreed upon by the new Trier Township principals, so we meet on a regular basis and we discuss the survey. We were able to actually, from this survey, get the results not only for our individual districts, but to look at the results from all of the other surrounding districts, which was a nice difference than what we had had in the past as well. But we looked at challenges, academic preparation, and social emotional preparation as the three areas that we saw trending in the district or across the township. So in the first area of challenges, students were asked what aspects of middle school life they found challenging. For this question, there were multiple answers to choose from, including making new friends, managing homework, and peer pressure. Across the township, over half of the students taking the survey identified balancing schoolwork and social life, lack of sleep, and managing homework as challenging aspects of middle school, with balancing schoolwork and social life as the top answer at 57.46% overall. Fewer students check the boxes for peer pressure to use e-cigarettes or vape or to use alcohol, signifying that these areas, while challenges, are not at the forefront of challenges facing New Trier Township students. E-cigarettes and vaping was at 5.37% and alcohol was at 2.74%, saying that those were challenges. The next area that we looked at was preparation for academic skills areas. Students were asked to consider their school experiences and how well their middle school prepared them in different areas. They were given a list and were given 4 choices for each item on the list. Those choices were very prepared, prepared, somewhat prepared, and not prepared. They could also select NA. For the purposes of tonight's report, the percentages consider students who felt very prepared and prepared as one positively prepared category, and somewhat and not prepared as one negatively prepared category. Areas that students reported on included study skills, time management, self-advocacy, and use of support services, research, critical thinking, use of new technology, and working on long-term projects. On this question, you can see that students across the township chose technology, critical thinking, and research as the top 3 areas that they felt prepared for or very prepared for, at a rate of more than 80%. Students marked feeling prepared in time management and study skills at a lesser rate. While these were indicated at a lesser rate for feeling prepared, still over 60% of students reported feeling prepared or very prepared in these areas. The next area that we looked at was social emotional preparation. Students were here asked to consider their school experiences and how well their middle school prepared them in areas such as having a sense of personal goals, overcoming adversity, having positive, respectful relationships with others, advocating for peers during bullying situations, and resolving conflicts with others. For this question, again, students were given 4 choices of very prepared, prepared, somewhat prepared, and not prepared, or NA. In all areas asked, students across the township marked positive preparedness at a rate of over 70%. The top 3 areas where students felt positively prepared were having positive, respectful relationships with others, understanding the perspectives and experiences of others, and making ethical, constructive choices. A close fourth was advocating for yourself when you need help resisting peer pressure. Students across the township marked feeling prepared at lower rates, but still over 70% in both areas, in working on culturally diverse teams and having a sense of personal goals. As we looked at this information as township principals, we were really impressed with how overwhelmingly students reported having friends that cared for them, having adults at school that they could go to for help, and having adults at school who encouraged them to pursue their goals and dreams. Students marked yes in these areas at a rate of over 75% for all of them, and up to 96% for having friends that cared for them at school. So let's turn our attention to District 39 and how we aligned with the township responses. From District 39, there were 395 students that took the survey, and that made up just about 40% of the survey responses from the township. Again, we looked at challenges. District 39 fell in line with the township. Our top 3 challenges were balancing schoolwork and social life, lack of sleep, and managing homework, just like the township. One difference from the township was that lack of sleep was our highest challenge. Across the township, it was balancing schoolwork and social life. We're hopeful that with recent changes in before school start times and band and orchestra practice schedules, this may change over time. We'll be keeping our eye on this number, and we'll see what additional interventions we might need to put in place. Just like the results across this township, students cited challenges associated with substance abuse and peer pressure at a significantly lesser rate than other areas. In the area of academic skills preparation, again, District 39 fell in line with township trends. One area to note is in the area of technology. We're close to 90%, 87.6%, of WJHS students indicated feeling prepared by their middle school experiences. This is a direct result of all of the hard work that has been done with respect to tech integration and preparation across the 5A campus. Additionally, high numbers in critical thinking show us that the focus on integration of the 4 C's, of which critical thinking is one of them, into the classroom is going well. We would expect that to continue to stay high or rise moving forward. To address the student feelings of lower preparedness in the areas of time management and study skills, we will continue to use homeroom lessons and integrated support in the area of study skills and time management in all of our classes. Additionally, through some of the changes that we're making in how we look at students who go to WIN classes and what their specific needs are, we're able to better pinpoint areas of need for these individual students over time. The third area, again, is social emotional preparation. Again, we fell in line with the district, or with the township. Students across the township marked positive preparedness at a rate of over 70%, and students in Wilmette across all areas marked positive preparedness at a higher percentage, except for 2 areas. The area of personal goals, where they were 1 percentage point lower than the township average, and in the area of overcoming setbacks and challenges, where they were the same as the township average. Otherwise, we were above in all areas. All areas in Wilmette showed positive preparedness over 73%, and some significantly higher than the township average, such as advocating for peers during bullying situations, stepping out of their comfort zone as a learner, and finally working on culturally diverse teams, which was actually a 6-point difference from the township, so 6 points higher than the township average. The top 3 areas where students felt positively prepared in Wilmette were having positive, respectful relationships with others, making ethical, constructive choices, and understanding the perspectives and experience of others. Close fourth, again, was advocating for yourself when you need help resisting peer pressure. Less students marked feeling prepared in the areas of overcoming setbacks and challenges and having a sense of personal goals. But you can see there that those are both at 72.66% and 74.94%. So those were our lowest areas. We will be interested in recent data and continued data that we will be collecting this year from the Mindsets, Essential Skills, and Habits, or MESH surveys that we have given to our students in 5th through 8th grade to assess competencies and help understand student areas of needs with respect to social emotional preparation. That information will help us direct our work and really pinpoint areas of need that relate to this survey. One area that we explored specific to Wilmette is the area of adult connections. Students were asked, did you have an adult at your middle school with whom you could go to if you had a problem? You can see we had 80% of students marked yes. That means just over 20% of at WJHS, however, feel that they don't have an adult that they could go to if they have a problem. We know that the environment we create in our classrooms and school fosters connections, identifies proactive ways we can intervene for struggling students, and improves overall achievement. By working to reduce the no in this category through simple steps, such as just saying hi to students in the hallways, being present throughout the school, reaching out and asking questions to students about their lives, and working to identify warning signs of anxiety, loneliness, and disconnect, while thoughtfully planning steps to intervene. Through all these things, we can positively influence our school culture, and we'll be able to improve this number over time, with the ultimate goal of having 100% of our students saying yes, they have an adult to go to at school. some of the things we're already doing or have done this year are Start with Hello Week, our new surveys, our mesh surveys, improved discussions regarding our handbooks and our expectations at schools, restorative practices. We have student advisory boards and inclusivity teams, and something that we're trying in the coming weeks and months at with our staff is relationship mapping, where we look at how we are connecting to each and every student at our school and how we can improve on that. So this new improved survey gave us some great baseline data in District 39 as we plan to address challenges our students face, academic preparation for high school, emotional preparedness our students need for their experiences beyond District 39, and improving adult connections in our buildings. We look forward to providing continued information in the coming years. Do you have any questions?
Board members? Okay, Mr. Cisaretti?
Yeah, no, I just want to say it's a really impressive survey. Thank you. Nice report. It's very reassuring that those results are as high as they are.
Anyone else? Mr. Penzica?
I agree. It's great, and what'll be interesting to see how the 8th grade report, then we tie it into the freshman year report that comes out in spring or whenever that.
They no longer take the freshman survey that they took in years past. This is replacing that.
Okay.
This does, however, then they give a similar survey to students, I believe, after their sophomore year at New Trier, and then I believe one other time while they're there, or maybe after graduation.
Yeah, that was a readout, I think, that they just had in October, and that covered a lot of the unfortunate, cigarette, e-cigarette, drugs, alcohol, type of things. But I mean, one of the ones that we used to collect was, homework levels, writing skills, those type of things after they saw a year in New Trier. So that survey is no longer being taken? Okay.
Yeah, this survey is now aligned to the New Trier High School survey that they give 3 times. So we'll get this data with the sophomore, junior data, with the post-graduation when they're in college, then post-graduation after college. So we're going to get some good longitudinal data, but it's completely aligned to what New Trier was already doing.
Okay, but some of that information is a little different. The only other thing then, just quickly, we have good results for our 8th graders. The New Trier report partly is due to the fact that the kids are older, but the numbers skyrocket. So, just having good numbers in 8th grade, as much as we can do to keep them having a good basis so that they don't regress when they go to high school, and it's not just, they were good in 8th grade, and then when we let go of them, things drifted away.
Absolutely. We don't want to rest on our laurels and say, hey, we're doing a great job. I think we do a great job, but there's always room for improvement. Yeah.
Tracy?
Something based on you said, just for clarification, where it said that they didn't feel peer pressure for vaping and e-cigarettes and alcohol, et cetera. That was in middle school, correct? The question.
Correct. That was asked in 8th grade, and so some students did identify it as a challenge, but at a significantly lesser rate. Yeah.
So I'm understanding this survey is given to freshmen, though, reflecting on 8th grade.
No, this was given last spring so the results from this survey are current freshmen. So it was given last spring to 8th graders.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So that makes sense.
Right, and so you could probably see how the numbers may change.
Things will change or not will, but could, whatever, once they take it as a freshman, sophomore, junior, whatever. Second question is, so there were no longer any questions like how prepared did you feel in math? How prepared did you feel, like, along with what Frank was asking?
Correct. This survey only had 11 questions, and it really focused on skill areas and skill preparation rather than specific content areas.
And then finally, I think it would be helpful to be able to see the data, the results of the survey alongside the other townships, feeder schools. Is there a reason we don't?
No, I can't.
Is this the way New Trier gives it? I mean,
This was the way the township principals decided to present it. It's the same presentation, but I mean, we could compare it to the average like we do with other things, but you kind of did that. It wasn't on a chart, but you
Right.
went through each one. She indicated what the township.
I just like visuals. Thank you.
Let me see what I can do. All right.
All right, go ahead.
Thank you for this report. One of the things that I found really interesting, and it's just a observation, the executive functioning practices that are mentioned in this report. I love that over 60%. I mean, I guess I find it encouraging that and discouraging at the same time that over 60% find that they're positively prepared. At the same time, because we have such an amazing resource in our district, because this is specifically within our district, we have these WIN classes in place, and we have this amazing structure in place of WIN and supporting our diverse learners. I would love at some point, to see if that will bleed, that support structure can bleed into the entire diverse, our entire student body, so that 60% becomes 100%, because we already have the structure in place. So that is just the first thought that went into my head. Was it's kind of like when you say that we can have 100% of contact with teachers, this is just an area where we already have that, like, right there in place, that where students could be, like, completely prepared, and we're already serving, a part of our student body with that executive functioning skill set specifically. Do you know what I?
Yep. Yeah, and I think that that's an area definitely that looking forward we want to help spread, like I say, integrated throughout all of our classes. There's definitely lessons that we can pull from our WIN classes and what have you, where we can expand upon that in homeroom classes or just in just regular classes too, that, social studies class or a science class. So, for sure.
Okay, thank you very much for the report. We always like to see the data, so we appreciate it. And that brings us to 1920 draft student fees.
Yes, and we have your first draft of recommended fee changes for 2019-20 school year. Overall, the fees remain the same, and Ellen Crispino has a few details to share.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Lechner. We are recommending 3 changes to student fees. First, we are recommending an increase to the 8th grade instructional material fee of $10 for iPad insurance to follow the practice started in prior years for grades 5 through 7. Second, we are recommending a 10% increase in athletic programs to cover increasing costs, since athletic programs are intended to be self-sustaining. And last, we are recommending eliminating the $4.95 transaction fee for instructional material fee payments made through RevTrack. Any questions?
Board members? Okay, this was discussed at the Finance Committee, as we talked about it earlier, so that's good. Next up, long-term enrollment.
Yes, we do this report each year, and I know last year we were projecting a slight decline. We projected 3,463 students, and we actually had 22 more than we projected lower. So we'll keep that in mind as we go through this report here. The first slide is also the same one that's in your board packets. And this basically shows the overall trend of district enrollment since 2007. And since 2007, we were down 159 students, actually, which averages about 17 students per grade. Since 2015, we've had about a 4.7% decline in student population. Again, 17 per grade is not a huge number when you think about having 20-some sections across the entire district. Next, we look at annual home sales, and we can see that the sales are really solidly up. The green line represents that stability. So we're solid, and this is where we tend to get move-ins, is in this area, as well as the next slide, which is also building permits for new residential construction. Again, this is very solid, and this often indicates, as I said just now, move-ins as well. The blue line indicates, the blue bars indicate as of this time of year where we're at, and we're pretty much the same as in the last few years. Kindergarten enrollment is something else that we look at, and that's definitely been declining over the years. That decline is tied to full-day kindergarten because parents choose to put their children in private settings because we don't offer that program. And we also have a significant amount of move-ins after kindergarten and first grade. We see our enrollment jump in those grades. And next we'll look at individual schools. K4, really flat is our projection. Ramona, pretty flat. Mackenzie, it's also flat. Central is indicating a slight decline. And then when we look at Highcrest and junior high, you'll see a decline, but that represents the large bubbles that have moved through this. We had some very significantly sized classrooms, class sections that moved through Highcrest, and also Wilmette Junior High. You notice that 800 in 2023, and that's basically where we'd like the junior high to be at, is around 800 students, so that looks pretty good. And then overall, again, it's relatively flat with a slight decline in 2022. Any questions?
Board members? Okay. Seeing none, let's move on to the Highcrest construction change order.
Yeah, this one is practically an announcement, actually, because we're recommending a change order, and that requires board approval when we do school construction. Because of the new learning commons that's coming on to the junior high, Highcrest Middle School next year, and that begins late spring, we want to delay the already scheduled parking lot repair that we had planned. We want to wait until we're at a point when new construction will not damage parking lot services. Ellen, is there anything to add to that?
No.
Okay.
Great. Board members, any questions? This was also discussed in committee, so terrific. And that takes us to our board policy review for this month.
Yes, we have a series of second read policies available for you. We've taken board feedback, made those changes, reviewed them, and we're ready for board approval.
I have a couple grammatical corrections, I think, Heather. In section, sorry, policy, I'm adjusting to new glasses. 2:240, under policy development, that highlighted part, I think you want to cross out through after submitted to. Have you already done that? Sorry, am I telling you something you've already noticed?
And then what we'll do if you're making amendments to these second reads is when we pull them from the consent agenda, and you'll have to make a motion for each policy separately to make a motion to amend.
Okay, these are literally.
Yep.
Yeah.
Got to do it anyway.
Just say, I have no problem doing that, but they're incorrect as they are.
Yeah.
So, okay. And then on that same page, under policy and development, the second paragraph, last line where it says implementing the policy review schedule, I think you want to say implement the policy review schedule. Same policy, 2:240.
Okay, any other questions? Go ahead.
On that one or a different?
Any that you have?
Yes. Excuse me. I actually would like to pull, there's two that I would like to pull.
Okay.
Policies 4.10 and 4.15. I've submitted those because they were extensive. And then
So those will be pulled for third read, is what you're saying?
for third reads.
Got it, okay.
And then just on 4.16, just slight grammatical changes. On the second page, last paragraph, comma after benefit, if we're going to make these changes, sorry. Comma after benefit, so tax, comma, benefit, comma. And then on that same sentence, get rid of in accordance with and replace it with per district protocols. So that was my
Remind me which policy that is, I'm sorry.
That is policy
416, thank you.
416.
So we have grammatical corrections on 416 and 2240, and then third read for 410 and 415.
So what we'll do is, when we get to the consent agenda, we will ask to pull anything from the consent agenda. And Ellen, when we ask to pull anything from the consent agenda, we will pull, actually, or Tracy, 2240 and 416. And then we'll also pull 410 and 415. And then afterwards, I will seek a motion to approve 2240 as amended and 416 as amended. And we won't say anything about 410 and 415 because they're just going to go to third read.
Correct.
Oh, do we have to approve them on second read?
No, you're good.
Okay, yeah, okay.
You're exactly right.
Okay, good.
And I just want to further support, I noticed this about 5 minutes before I got here. So I'm happy that we're going to have a third read on 415 because I have some issue with that policy as well, and you'll hear it.
Great. All right, any other comments on board policies? I do want to remind you, look, we're all doing this in good faith, absolutely. But whenever we can get, everybody's been busy, but whenever we can get those comments and whatnot in ahead of time, that helps us out a lot. So we didn't quite get all the way there this time. That's okay. Not a criticism, but I'm going to put the reminder out there.
I'd also like to just say, in reaction to that, and it would be really helpful in that vein to get board packets earlier than Friday as well.
Well, so I've always felt that way. That said, remember, these are second reads, so we should really read the first read.
I do remember that.
Okay.
This is
great.
In addition to having time.
Understand. Great. Any other comments? Okay. This is the second opportunity for the audience to address the board. Are there any audience members who would like to speak at this time? Okay. Seeing none, we'll continue with our agenda. And this is where we get to our action items. And so the first one is going to be a series of board resolutions. And what I'm going to ask for first, so we're at board resolutions, which is A.1. And this is on Illinois Association of School Boards representation. So what I'm going to ask for, and through this process, if board members have any questions or are worried about the process that we're using, please just say that you have a point of order, and we'll figure out where to go from there. So what I'm going to ask for first is a motion for the board to send a representative to the III conference to represent us with the Illinois Association of School Boards, that member to be appointed by the board president. So that's the motion I'm asking for. Would anyone like to make that motion?
I'd make that motion.
Great, thank you. Would anyone like to second that?
I would.
Okay, it's made and seconded. And did the clerk catch the motion? Okay, great, thank you very much. Is there any discussion on the motion? Go ahead.
Yes, I'm in support of this motion, as long as this is the first time that we make it a trend or consistent to have a representative at IASB, and not just for lack of a better word, cherry picking issues. I think it's important to do that. I've talked about that before in the past, about lobbying on our behalf. I think it's a great idea, but I think it's a great idea across the board.
Got it. Makes sense. Go ahead, Lisa.
And actually, I'd like to know before I vote whether we will be doing.
So, we can't bind future boards to do things.
Yeah, but this
I will
current
say
board.
on personal behalf, I think that's a great idea.
So Tracy, I just want to say I agree. I think that my awareness of this organization and what it does has been heightened, and I would like us to engage and participate moving forward.
Okay. John?
Yeah, I agree, and I think my perspective is that they probably need us to help them shape what their agenda is, and I'm looking forward to that.
Okay. Let me just get this side real quick. Any comments on this side? Go ahead, Alan.
I'm going to say I agree as well, so that you know what my answer is.
Okay. Alice?
Yep, I do too.
Okay.
I think us sitting on the sidelines is kind of a no vote, or, we should exercise our vote.
Okay, Frank?
I agree, and actually there's the next step is then getting involved early enough to be a participant in coming up with resolutions instead of just having a a vote on resolutions that have been proposed.
Okay.
Instead of just reacting.
Any other thoughts on the motion? Yep, go ahead.
I just have a clarification. So voting for this motion, are we in I want to know that we're in agreement that we'll continue this practice.
Well, again, we can't bind future boards.
I'm saying
everybody here agrees.
As long as we're on the board, this board today.
Yeah, we all agree
Yes.
that's what we want to do.
That won't change till April,
Right.
as far as we know, unless someone drops off the
So
board.
what we will do is,
Yes.
so what we'll do is we'll appoint a representative, and then I think it's perfectly reasonable of the board to expect that representative to come back and report to us on what other meetings there might be coming up and other ways that we can participate. Does that work?
I think so.
Okay. You'll tell us if it doesn't. That's okay. That's okay. All right, so the motion has been made and seconded, and we've discussed it. All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, the motion carries. So that's the first motion, and now we have the upcoming triple I meeting, which is a meeting of three different Illinois school-related associations, and IASB is one of them. And then, I lost my, okay, so we have 8 individual resolutions, and what we're going to do is we're going to vote on each of the 8. I'm going to suggest by calling for a motion that we vote to have our representative vote in a certain way. That does not mean that we have to prove that we're going to vote in that way, but the reason I'm doing it this way is because we need an affirmative vote to tell the person what to do. So we should either, so the first vote should be, should we tell them to vote yes, or should we tell them to vote no? If that doesn't carry, then we'll do a vote the other way. If we say, should we tell them to vote yes, and everybody says, no, we shouldn't do that, then we're going to take a vote. Should we tell them to say no? Does that make sense?
Not really.
All right. Let's try it this way. I'm going to seek with regard to the first resolution, which is on student safety and protection, and I'm going to remind the board members, and we'll discuss it in just a second. I'm going to remind the board members that the ISB is recommending that this is voted against because resolution number 2 is the one they're recommending we vote for. So I seek a motion that we direct our representative to vote against resolution number 1.
Okay, I'll see if I can get this right. I move that for resolution 1, student safety and protection, that we vote to not adopt resolution 1.
Okay. Do I have a second?
A second.
Great. Motion has been made and seconded. May I have any discussion? John, did you have something you want to say?
No, I was gonna hope that you did what you did.
Okay.
And you did.
So the vote is that we are directing our representative to not adopt. All in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, any opposed? Great. That takes us to resolution number 2. And once again here, and I think this one's more controversial, but I'm going to start with the no. We direct our representative to not support or oppose the resolution. And I will note that this is the one that the ISB is recommending that we vote for. So do I have a motion to direct our representative to vote against adoption of the second resolution?
I move to direct our representative to vote do not adopt to resolution number 2 on student safety and protection.
Great, thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Alice. So here I think we'll have some discussion. So let's, who'd like to start us off? John?
I could. I think I would urge us to consider, how do I say that? I don't know. I won't. Yeah, just say it. So, I am personally from a fairly rural area where I truly believe the relationship with guns is different than an area like Wilmette, and I am uncomfortable telling other school districts what to do, frankly, on principle. But I am troubled by the language of this resolution and, frankly, the vagueness of it. And I think there are other things that our representative body should be pursuing with respect to school safety, other than putting guns in school. And I'm not seeing it here, and I'd like to try to redirect this representative body to something which I would view as more constructive, like funding more school safety officers and, basically the excellent list that were listed earlier by the speakers earlier. So I know there's many other things to do. I frankly think that inserting this resolution in this context is highly politically motivated and divisive, and not helpful to how we govern schools in Illinois.
Okay, thank you very much. Other comments? Tracy?
I do. I, like John, out of principle and just in terms of local control, I respect local control and let's call it diversity of needs throughout our state and throughout our country. And I don't feel comfortable making these decisions for school districts or anyone that I'm not a part of and do not live. And John said it well. I do think the relationship with guns, I don't know that though. Again, I don't know. And I don't claim to know what everyone needs and wants. They're different. I want to clarify a couple things here. From what I understand and what I've read, the Student Safety and Protection, the second resolution that IASB is recommending that people support, it simply provides local school boards the option of developing student safety and protection plans, which may include administrators, faculty, and/or staff. It doesn't talk about anyone forcing teachers to do anything like that. It doesn't talk about even teachers having to be those positions. It sounds like it's just opening to me an option during a time when our legislatures in DC and Illinois are not resolving the issue. So I'm gonna vote for our representative vote yes on this, based on this. Two, further, yeah, I too, John, would like money and funding to be available for student or rep officers in all schools, but as we know, Illinois doesn't have a lot of money, and that is also a local issue. Secondly, reading about Mercer County and just even their situation, and they have 5 schools 25 miles apart, first responders not available within 30 minutes, 1 sheriff, I think, that concerns me. Those are not my decisions to make. I know, I actually don't mind this legislation. I don't mind this resolution at all, in that we as Wilmette and this school board can absolutely make our own decisions regarding our community, regardless of what happens here. So.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you. I also want to note that it doesn't compel anyone to do this. It just allows for the opportunity.
Okay, thank you. Other comments that board members want to make?
Well, yeah, well, I hate to or hesitate to tell other districts, what's right for their district. I really feel that guns do not belong in schools, and I really like the fact that Illinois has this law on the books. And I think there's been enough proliferation of guns, and I really do not believe that we should contribute to further proliferation of guns in schools. And I think it's very dangerous to have them in there. And I know we're all terrified of what might happen, but I don't think it's really going to make our schools safer. I, too, really believe that I would like to write a proposal where we would ask the state or ask the IASB to put their energy into more positive things like resource officers or money for school districts, so that they could, we could help consult on safety or training or wherever they need the help. So my vote would be in support of the motion that's on the floor.
Okay. Other comments? Yeah.
I've watched all of the training videos and reports. I've read reports from all the various organizations on this topic, and the amount of training that goes into law enforcement in active shooter situations is just vast. And I agree with John and Tracy in terms of, not making decisions for other people in other districts and not feigning to know what it's like in different communities. However, the amount of training that goes into law enforcement to deal with a situation is unbelievable. And so putting guns in the hands of any individual who has not gone through that kind of training and not knowing how to react, let alone not knowing how to react with children involved in a classroom, is just, I can't even imagine putting that responsibility in any teacher's hands or on their shoulders. I just do not believe that guns belong in schools anywhere. So, I'm sorry, I just...
Okay. Thank you. Yes, Lisa?
So I oppose this resolution. I think that in large part because arming teachers, arming school staff, ignores a lot of the research that shows that the presence of guns increases the risk posed to children. America's teachers, school safety experts, law enforcement oppose arming teachers. One of our speakers listed off a wide range of professional organizations, such as the American Federation of Teachers, the National Education Association. I won't repeat the whole list. But those organizations have studied extensively the issue, and they're deciding for the health and safety of their members and students. There are better options to improve school safety. And to the issue of home rule, we legislate all kinds of things on a statewide basis for schools. Whether and how long kids should take gym, whether they should take civics, whether how many minutes they stay in school. And these aren't matters of life and death. I believe that whether we arm teachers and administrators, civilians, in schools is a matter of life and death. I think that there are better things we could do, and I don't think that the ISB should be, our organization should be lobbying, which is what this vote would do. We would authorize this organization to lobby to allow guns in schools, and I think it's a bad idea.
Okay. Other comments? One more?
Of note, and I want to say that it struck me too in reading this that our 3 surrounding states have laws that allow for this, and no reports of fears that we're having at this point. But what really struck me was, and there's 18 states throughout the nation that do that, what struck me was that after the school shooting tragedy in Parkland, Florida then, the General Assembly passed a gun legislation package that included a local district option to arm school personnel. So it's a decision they made after the fact.
Okay. Frank?
I want to agree with the comments that Ms. Schaff made. In particular, now that we're taking a position on this, I think it's incumbent on us that we help come up with other ideas. So, now that we're getting involved with something this important, to just leave it as, however we end up voting today, I think is only half step. So part of my vote will be that I think it's important that then we take the next step of helping come up with other options if we choose to vote no. I could vote yes on this resolution, I believe.
So the motion on the floor is that we will direct our representative to oppose this resolution. So we vote yes, so that our representative votes no. Maybe that's the shortest way to put it. Okay, For my part, I will say on a personal note that it is very clear to me, personally, that if you put a gun in a school, there has to be an adult responsible for that gun that has absolutely no other primary job function than public safety. That person must be responsible for that gun at all times. Putting people in place who have dual responsibilities to teach children, to administer teachers, anything else is foolish. I think it's foolish to put guns in schools. On the issue of home rule, I'm looking forward to voting for resolution number 6, which indicates that schools should have direction over their own security. I think that putting together the opposition to resolution number 2 and support for number 6 clearly balances that while in principle I support that school districts should have many of their own choices, there are limits to those choices. So that's my personal opinion. That said, and taking the prerogative to speak last, I appreciate it. I would like to ask all those in favor, first, are there any questions as to what we're voting for if we say yes or no? Okay, so again, we vote yes, so our representative votes no. All those in favor of that, please indicate by saying yes.
Yes. No.
Yes.
Any opposed?
No.
Thank you. The yeses have it, and the motion carries.
I mean, yes, opposed.
Got it. I think we understand.
To the motion.
Got it. Okay, so that takes us to resolution number 3, and recall that this is substantially a similar resolution, and the ISP is recommending we oppose this, so I'm going to ask for a motion that we direct our representative to oppose resolution number 3.
I move that.
You can say so moved if you want.
So moved.
There we go. Do we have a second?
Second.
Great. Alice seconds. Any discussion? Okay.
I just want to note I'm opposing 1 and 3 because they're encompassed in 2.
Got it. Okay. All those opposed, or all those in favor of the motion to direct our representative to oppose this, please indicate by saying yes.
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 Any opposed, please say no. Okay. Resolution number 4 is on energy savings, funding, and borrowing. I'm going to take a shot in the dark and seek a motion for that we direct our representative to vote in favor of adopting this resolution number 4. May I have such a motion?
So moved.
Any seconds?
Second.
May I have any discussion on this one? Okay. All those in favor, please indicate by saying yes.
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 Any opposed? Great.
I'm abstaining just
Okay.
because I don't have enough information about it.
Fair enough. The 5th resolution is on financing public education. It is a reaffirmation of an existing position the IASB has. Excuse me. And I'm going to seek a motion here that we direct our representative to support this resolution. Any motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Thank you. Is there any discussion on this one? Great. All those in favor, please indicate by saying yes.
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 Any opposed?
And I'm abstaining from that one as well.
Okay. The 6th resolution is on local authority and safety practices. This is a new belief statement, and it's the one that I referred to just a moment ago. In this one, I am also going to seek a motion that the board direct its representative to support this resolution or adopt this resolution.
So moved.
May I have a second?
Second.
Okay. Any discussion on this one? Okay. All those in favor, please indicate by saying yes.
Yes. Yes.
Any opposed? Okay, that carries. Sorry, all of these have carried so far. I probably should say that. And then the 7th one is an amended belief statement, which is on mental health services. I'm going to seek a motion that the board direct its representative to support the adoption of this resolution. May I have such a motion?
So moved.
May I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion on this one? Great. All those in favor, please indicate by saying yes.
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 Any opposed? Okay, the motion carries. And on the 8th amendment, we are amending another belief statement here, and this is on student voter registration. I am going to seek a motion that the board direct its representative to support the adoption of this resolution.
So moved.
Any seconds?
Second.
Okay, any discussion on this? Great. Being none, All those in favor, please indicate by saying yes.
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 Any opposed?
No, opposed.
Okay, one opposition, and the motion carries by general consent. All right, thank you very much. That takes us through the IASB representation. Next up, we have the Wilmette School District 39 Board of Education resolution authorizing intervention in property tax appeals. May I have a motion? Oh, do you want to?
I can make a quick statement for the public.
Okay, yeah, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, basically, this was also discussed at the School Finance Committee. We're recommending approval of an updated resolution authorizing intervention in property tax assessment appeals in both the Property Tax Appeal Board and the Circuit Court of Cook County. This resolution would establish standard District 39 practices.
May I have a motion?
I move to approve the resolution authorizing intervention in property tax appeals for District 39.
Okay, may I have a second?
Second.
Okay. Let's see, this is property tax appeals. I suspect this is a roll call vote. So would the clerk please call the roll?
Can we have?
Oh, I'm sorry. Do we have any? I apologize, Tracy. Yes, I skipped over that. May I have discussion?
A couple questions here. So just to bring it down to lay terms, we're right now passing a resolution to intervene in property tax appeals. We're changing our level of where we intervene. Currently, we intervene in property tax appeals that have $100,000 EAV, change in EAV, and now we're moving to go to 50,000 EAV. Mark, are you listening?
I am just saying.
Yeah.
I just want to clarify. Go ahead.
Anything I need to hear?
No, go ahead.
Okay. So anyway, so I'm just clarifying that what we're doing is changing the level of where we intervene from $100,000 in change to EAV to $50,000 in change to EAV, which translation would mean there's probably more property tax appeals cases that we'll be intervening in, correct?
So Frank has a comment on that?
Okay.
The resolution document just discusses adding the circuit court. It doesn't talk anything about the levels.
That's why I was clarifying that, because that's what we talked about at committee, and I want to make sure, I want to know what I'm voting for. No, I'm a no vote regardless in this government body, third government body intervening in property tax appeals. And one, the premise, it's not what we're charged to do. Two, we use money that we get from our property tax payers to get in the middle of them appealing their property taxes. So in essence, we're using the money that we've taken to govern the school from them to fight them in court, so to speak, over the property taxes. So but I want to why did we talk about that in committee? What am I committing to? Or not committing to, but.
Specifically, the resolution says, this is part 2 is the relevant part. The law firm Robin Schwartz, Nicholas, Lifton, Taylor, Limited is authorized to file as a legal representative on the taxing district's behalf a request to intervene in the property tax assessment appeals filed with the PTAB in accordance with policies and limitations established by the Board of Education.
Correct, but
And the second one.
where has the change, how is this different than what we had before? There's not a number in there. What we discussed at committee was a difference was going after property tax appeals that we're now changing in $50,000 versus $100,000 value.
This specific resolution just adds the ability to interact with the Cook County Circuit Court to the ability to interact with the PTAB. It doesn't, this resolution that we're talking about or voting on doesn't mention anything
So
about
this is the second part of the whole thing, in that we only went in front of PTAB board, but now we're going to go to a different appeal level. In other words, if someone, because there's 3 ways to appeal your property taxes, and typically by the time someone gets to PTAB, it's because they've been denied at the Cook County Board of Commission level and the third route, or whatever, the first one, I can't pull that out of my head right now, which is taken care of at the circuit court.
So what we've discussed in committee is that we would change the level. So if we adopt this resolution, then my understanding is that Robin Schwartz, and board say if you think this is different, now says, okay, well, we think that your policy will be $50,000 instead of $100,000. So although that language is not in there, the language is the limitation set by the board, and that's the understanding that our legal counsel has now of our limitations.
So where will we see that language, the 50,000, the 100 to 50?
So that is what we give the council as our limitation. So that's their understanding.
But if I were like a public member of the public, how would I know that?
In our
By watching this, by watching this meeting?
Yeah, and watching this meeting too. Sure.
Okay.
Well, and also because you'd see that when we have reports about PTABs, you're going to say, and it.
Right,
we're gonna
but
say
it would
that, so-
be, if you happen to miss this meeting or didn't go watch it online and you suddenly saw a property tax appeal intervention at 50,000 when we've clearly stated for years that we do not discriminate and that we just go at 100,000 or whatever, and that's where we start.
Yeah, you would have
So-
to have seen that we changed that.
Yes.
In this case.
Where
So
will we see that? Just in
Well,
these
in
minutes?
minutes-
Right here.
In the
Okay.
minutes of this meeting and the minutes of our committee meeting, you would
Yep.
see that. And I just want to clarify too, that we're not really, we've always gone to the PTAB, but now we're going to go to the circuit court because more and more cases are being filed in the circuit court. And this just authorizes our legal team to actually go to the court where the cases are being filed, because otherwise their hands were really
And that's
tied.
because the $50,000 cases are there, essentially. There's two parts to this resolution, or at least two parts to our discussion at committee. And I was just wondering why the second part
Well, I
was
don't know
not
what
there.
the dollar breakdown is, if there's a dollar breakdown between the two different courts, except that if there are a lot more that are being filed there, and so we now have access to go after those.
So just to clarify there, so now not only are we lowering limitation, even though that's not on this resolution, but we're doing that. There, in translation again, is there will be more property tax appeals that we will potentially be intervening with. Two, we are also opening up a second court to give us access to.
Well, because
So
that's where the
again,
case-
more opportunity.
Right, I understand that's
Right.
where the cases are, but I
Right.
also want to clarify is that we reduced the level, but there's still, in my understanding, you guys correct me if I'm wrong, there's still really large cases and claims. They're not the everyday run-of-the-mill, like, tax
Alice, the
cases.
point I'm trying to make here and clarify, as we all know, who's sitting, is that the fact is, this voting for this resolution and this practice is allowing this board to intervene in more property tax appeal cases.
Yep.
I think
I
you're
think that's-
probably right about that.
yeah,
I
that's
think you're
been
probably right
clarified.
about that. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any other discussion on this? Okay. Then the motion has been made and seconded, and the clerk please call the roll.
Yes.
No.
Yes.
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 Yes. Okay, the motion carries, and that takes us to the resolution establishing fund balance goals.
Yes, and a brief summary is that we're ready for a new approach to fund balances. In January of 2011, the board adopted its first fund balance resolution establishing a 30% minimum. Since that time, a review of cash flow needs indicated a 35% minimum is necessary to avoid borrowing. A new 40% minimum would also provide a safety net for the state of Illinois' unknown fiscal concerns like the pension cost shift. Next, the board discussed the idea of an upper limit. This limit would require Board of Education review whenever 65% fund balances were reached.
Okay, thank you. Is there I'll seek a motion. Go ahead and seek the motion.
I move to approve a resolution for establishing fund balance goals with a minimum and a maximum.
Okay. In the
Minimum of 40% and a
maximum of 65%
as guidelines.
Okay. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. Any discussion on this? Yep.
Yeah, I feel like we've had a really good discussion in committee, so I'm revisiting things that we've already discussed. But I like this because I think this takes a lot of pressure off the levy system that we have, and frankly, guards our guards the system for how we fund the schools, and follows the PTAB restrictions and all the incredible intricacy in that system and how well thought out that system frankly is at this point, but allows for us to look at the top end and think through long term what our budget priorities are, and if we do end up being in a situation where we are holding too much of the taxpayers' money, to make a motion to refund that money. So I think it's a really clever idea.
Thank you.
Makes a lot of sense.
So I would love to get to vote on this because I'm going to have to leave in about 2 minutes, but
I gotta say what
go
I
for
gotta
it.
say, Mark.
Go for it.
One, we're not voting on the upper end limit to refund the money. That's not in this resolution.
Well, it's part of the discussion.
It's part of the discussion. It says do nothing. Read it.
Take no action.
Take no
accelerate
action.
Required capital expenditures, develop, these are not, they're just suggestions in here.
Exactly.
It's really just suggestions,
Yeah.
but what it does trigger, I think John's trying to say, is it triggers a conversation. We're very aware that we, as a board, don't want to carry really high fund balances, and we are very aware that we're using taxpayers' money. And our levies go up every year. So I think it's just a really nice way for us to say, to trigger a discussion about what we're doing, so we're very thoughtful about the money that we have.
I don't agree with that at all, but that's okay. I wish this would have been 2 votes or broken up into 2 things, because I am in support of the lower limit.
Okay.
Raising that, absolutely. And leaving it at 40. I'm not in support of the 65% upper limits. I think it's a head fake. It reminds me of Illinois toll booths, of when the roads are done being paid for, the booths will go down, and that doesn't occur. I don't see us getting to 65% because we consistently spend the money down. I would prefer the 40% level on the lower end in case we run into, there is more risk, et cetera. Should we get into a situation where we need more money, we always have the option to ask the voters.
Okay.
I don't like holding on to their money and then deciding what we're going to do with it if it gets to be too much. I don't see that as our responsibility. Finally, as revenues, as expenses, as we've kind of discussed here, that expenses are not tied to revenues, et cetera. I think having the 65% or leaving this upper fund limit that I personally think we'll never get to. And it's, again, I feel like it's a fake out there. I forgot what I was going to say. Anyway, I just think we're supposed to ask the voters first for the money instead of holding on to it and then deciding if we're going to allow them to have their money back or not.
Okay.
So.
Any other comments? Great. Then would the clerk please call the roll?
John says ready.
Yes.
Tracy Freeman.
No.
Brian Penzika.
Yes.
Alice Sheff.
Yes.
Lisa Schneider-Bibs.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Okay, thank you very much. The motion carries. And that takes us to the consent agenda. And I apologize, but I'm going to ask Vice President Penzika to take over for me here. Thank you all very much for getting done as much as we did tonight.
So, as mentioned, we'll move on to the consent agenda. First item, why don't you?
Do you need a motion, or you want to do a motion?
The first is I move to approve the personnel report dated November 12, 2018. I move to approve an extension of Highcrest Phase 1 asphalt resurfacing associated with the parking lot and adjacent landscaping work until November 2019. I move to approve the second and final reading of the revised Board of Education policy for 3:30, 3:100, 3:110, 3:120, 3:130, 4:05, 4:07. I move to approve bills for payment. Accounts payable for bills listed between October 23, 2018 and November 12, 2018 in the following amounts. Educational Fund, $294,582.51. O&M Fund, $317,571.37. Debt Service, $1,183,104.50. Transportation Fund, $197,022.88. Capital Projects, $185,954, for a total all funds of $2,178,235.26. I move to approve the manual checks issued between October 23, 2018 and November 12, 2018 in the following amounts. Educational Fund, $7,866.79. O&M Fund, $2,717.35. Transportation, $17.10, for a total all funds of $10,601.24.
I second the motion.
Is there any discussion? Oh, no, it's a consent agreement. So may I have a vote?
Yes.
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 Motion carries. I'll now seek a motion to approve policy 2:240 as amended. We can do them together. Okay. And 4:216 as 416 as amended.
Okay, so moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Seeing none, we have a
Roll call.
roll call?
We have a vote.
Yes.
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 Yep. Yes.
Okay, moving on to conference items. Is there any old business? Seeing none, is there any new business? Also seeing none. Is there any good and welfare? I just wanted to personally have a shout out to Connor Pichetti, who earlier on discussed his Eagle Project. He's a member of the Boy Scout Wilmette Troop 3, which I'm affiliated with, and I'm very proud of his accomplishment of making Eagle. I know he worked really hard to do it.
I'd like to add to that, Frank. I was obviously moved by them standing here. I choke up again. My father was in Vietnam and whatever. I don't see enough of that. And thrilled with what the Boy Scouts and just that whole presentation. Thank you, Dr. Kick, for bringing them here.
Yes, Wilmette is very lucky that we have at least 5 active Boy Scout troops. So quite a number of our community is involved with that. Or I guess actually the technical term now is scout troops, but I won't get into that. So I'm now moved to adjourn to executive session to discuss student discipline.
Second? Or so moved?
So,
Seconded.
Second.
So moved.
Second.
Second. Okay, perfect, sorry.
A vote, please? All in favor?
Yes.
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 Yep.
Yes. Like going, I didn't know if he said.
Yeah.